Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Boss Trends. Here are the 10 smartest horror movie villains. Number 10, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Tim Burton's bloody adaptation of Stephen Sondheim's gothic Broadway hit marks the most recent excursion the director took into strictly horror territory. Bringing his unique visual palette to the world of Sondheim's musical provide a perfect way of exposing the work to a wider audience. Likewise, the casting of Johnny Depp as a titular villain created one of the most menacing figures in the actor's history. Todd's combination of fiery rage and a keen mind for manipulating scenarios to his favor makes him a smart and unpredictable anti-hero. Number 9, Annie Wilkes, Misery. The world was introduced to the acting talents of Kathy Bates when she appeared as the antagonist in Rob Reiner's film version of the popular Stephen King novel of the same name. Misery remains one of the very best film adaptations of King's work, almost entirely because of the unhinged performance Bates gives. Bates imbues her villain with an element of childlike innocence that, when paired with her violent tirades, creates a menacing force to be reckoned with. The less said about the infamous hobbling scene, the better. Smart and mean as hell, Wilkes is the fan every artist prays they don't have. Number 8, Mick Taylor, Wolf Creek. Though Wolf Creek was controversial and critically divisive when first released, the lead villain Mick Taylor was almost universally labeled as terrifying. The reason Taylor is to be greatly feared by Australian backpackers is his prodigious ability to play dumb. When Taylor first appears in the Australian horror film, he is a warm and funny presence, which soon gives way to a complete flip of the switch as he becomes a vicious human hunter. John Jarratt's performance is as brilliant as it is unsettling. Number 7, Jang Kyung-chul, I Saw the Devil. I Saw the Devil is a 2010 South Korean psychological horror film in the same vein as Seven or Oldboy. Unrelenting in almost every way, the film is a brutal titty-tati between a soulless serial killer and a lawn man who decides to take the killer on a torturous journey of revenge. Choi Ming-sik's performance is truly chilling, one of the least merciful killers to ever be committed to screen. Additionally, Jang Kyung-chul's battle of wits with the lawman reveals that the killer has a highly capable evil mind. Number 6, Norman Bates' Psycho. Hitchcock's masterpiece would likely not have been as effective as it was, and still is not for that matter, without the unnerving work of Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. Bates has become a bona fide icon of the genre due to his mix of social awkwardness, boyish charm, and absolutely freaky spells when he dresses as his dead mother and starts stabbing women in the shower. Perkins makes Bates a nuanced and tragic figure that radiates an odd kind of likable chemistry that is yet to be replicated. Number 5, Jack or Mr. Sophistication, The House that Jack Built. Lars von Trier has been covertly making horror films for the last 2 decades. Though his films never strictly belong to a single genre, his latest film, The House That Jack Built, is the closest to provocateur, has come to making a straight-up piece of horror. Ostensibly a character study of a truly evil yet brilliant serial killer named Jack, the film weaves around several vignettes of Jack's killer persona, Mr. Sophistication, planning and committing perfect murders. Jack's philosophical meanderings and penchant for bleak and merciless violence make him a realistic boogeyman for the art house crowd. Number 4, Dr. Seth Brundle, The Fly. Dr. Cronenberg unleashed his commercial breakthrough in 1986 with this slick update of the 1958 B-movie classic. The material proved the perfect context for the Cronenberg to channel his unique brand of bloody horror while providing a cautionary tale of playing God. Jeff Goldblum plays Dr. Brundle, a brilliant but troubled scientist who inadvertently merges his DNA with a housefly while trying to teleport, what follows one of the best horror films of the decade and one of the best tragic villain stories ever in horror history. Number 3, Jigsaw, Saw. Though nobody would ever accuse the Saw films of being too intelligent, there is no doubt that its central antagonist, Jigsaw, is a deviously clever creation. Using people's own faults against them as a way of delivering a twisted sort of intervention, Jigsaw always was a step ahead of everybody else. A trait that was used intelligently in the last 2 films, before sliding into laughable and illogical. Especially in regards to the events of the first Saw film, Jigsaw's cunning is what makes him so intimidating and timeless. Number 2, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs. The quintessential modern example, and likely many people's number 1, has been the same since 1991 when The Silence of the Lambs petrified the nation. Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter was almost immediately promoted to icon status with his legendary performance. A critical darling and financial success, The Silence of the Lambs marked a major moment in horror, a shift towards more realistic and unsettling horror as opposed to the fantasy and the slasher-heavy 80 output. Lecter marked the introduction of the slasher whose greatest asset is his mind, not his axe. Number 1, Victor Frankenstein, Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein ranks at the top because his intelligence is what wraps him up from the protagonist to antagonist. Essentially a gothic version of Icarus, Dr. Frankenstein represents the model of what happens when genius is overtaken by ambition and a desire to exceed human limits. Victor provides the archetype for all mad scientist figures that would hunt horror films for decades to come. Simply too smart for his own good, Dr. Victor Frankenstein and his enormous ego is a quintessential evil genius. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. Also watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.